Good morning and welcome to our last AT Talk of 2021, which I cannot believe. If you would like a sketch or a certificate of completion, please email me at ddudash@my-ucp.org, and I'll put that address in the chat box. This morning, we will be learning about the MI-ABLE program from Scott DeVarona. Scott is the MI-ABLE director within the State of Michigan Student Financial Services Bureau. Scott oversees the Michigan Guarantee Agency and the State Student Loan Programs Office, in addition to the MI-ABLE program. Scott has worked for the state for 17 years in various positions within the Departments of Treasury and Health and Human Services. Scott holds a BA in Business Administration from Northwood University and an MBA from the DeVos Graduate School of Management. Scott lives in Grand Ledge, Michigan, with his wife and 2 children. Scott, they're all yours.
Thank you, Diane. As Diane said, my name is Scott DeVarona. I am the program director for the Michigan Department of Treasury 529 MI-ABLE Savings and Investment Program for individuals with disabilities. I'm excited to talk with you today about how MI-ABLE can help people with disabilities and their families exercise a freedom that they couldn't just until a few years ago, the freedom to save for the future. One of the reasons that the ABLE account came around is 30 years ago, when the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, everybody was concerned with one thing. That was accessibility, making sure that individuals with disabilities had access to places like schools and museums and hospitals and things of that nature. The second part of the ADA was not addressed until the ABLE Account Act was passed. And the second part was to allow individuals with disabilities to become economically self-sufficient. Well, I don't know about you, but it's not possible, in my opinion, to become economically self-sufficient if you are limited to $2,000 in assets. So what Congress did is they created a program that's modeled after the very successful 529 education program, and they named it 529 ABLE. What it did is it allows individuals with disabilities to save more than $2,000 in an account that they can use to pay for their qualified disability expenses. Now, I work in government. I've worked in government my entire career, and the one thing that government loves more than anything else is acronyms. There's an acronym for everything. And the acronym that you need to know for ABLE is QDE, Qualified Disability Expenses. It's the #1 thing that people want to know about. What can I use this money for? And I have some slides coming up that talk about what specifically QDE means. But that's what you need to understand is the money in these ABLE accounts needs to be used for QDE. If you have any investment earnings in an ABLE program, they grow tax-free. You don't have to pay taxes on your investment gains. But the most important thing, and the thing that we're really touting about this program, is that these accounts can be owned, established, and administered by an individual with a disability. So it can be their first step into planning for their own economic self-sufficiency. Now, because we have a wide range of abilities within the disability community, there is a provision in the ABLE Act that allows what they call authorized legal representatives to open and administer accounts on behalf of an individual with a disability. So if you are the parent, sibling, spouse, grandparent, child, or power of attorney, or court-appointed guardian, or you have been designated as a representative payee by the Social Security Administration, you can open and administer an account on behalf of a person with a disability. So it makes it really flexible for families who have individuals with disabilities within their family to create a savings and investment profile so that they can have an account where they don't have to worry about losing their eligibility for Medicaid or for any of the programs, the waiver programs that Medicaid administers, without jeopardizing that eligibility. So who's eligible to open an ABLE account? Anyone who became disabled prior to age 26. Remember, it does not matter how old you are now. It matters how old you were when the disability happened. So as long as the disability happened before age 26, you are eligible to open an ABLE account regardless of your current age. As long as you are eligible to receive SSI or SSDI because of that disability, or you have a condition listed on the Social Security Administration Compassionate Allowances list. The Compassionate Allowances list is constantly being added to. It has hundreds of conditions on it, different syndromes, different types of diagnoses that are available to qualify you for an ABLE account. And if neither one of those provisions applies to you, meaning you're not eligible for SSI or SSDI, or you have a condition that's not listed on the Social Security Administration Compassionate Allowances list, the IRS allows a third way to become eligible, and that's through self-certification. So it gives an individual a chance to, with a doctor's note, say, I have a condition that disables me. It happened before age 26. It's going to last longer than 1 year, and I need an ABLE account so I can protect my eligibility for my public benefits. So it makes it really, really easy and really, really flexible to become eligible for an ABLE account. So let's talk about, so now we know what it is, who can open it. Let's talk about how much you can put in the account. And I forgot to mention, these slides have been updated for 2022, which is just like 20 days away. So I'm going to talk to you both about 2021 rules and 2022 rules, okay? So for 2021, you are allowed to contribute $15,000 per calendar year, which means you have about 20 days until December 31st to make your 2021 contributions. And again, that's $15,000. For calendar year 2022, which starts in January, you are allowed to contribute up to $16,000 in your ABLE account. Now, for those individuals who are disabled and have an income, they can contribute an additional amount up to the poverty limit, which is $12,880, into their ABLE account as well. So theoretically, a person in Michigan could contribute in 2022 $28,880 into their ABLE account. That is a hard cap, which means if you put in, let's say today, you put in the total amount that's allowable for this calendar year, and then you withdraw $5,000, you still cannot make a contribution for this year. It's a hard cap per year. Once you contribute the amount, you can't contribute anymore. The IRS does allow rollovers from a 529 education account. Those rollovers are still subject to the annual maximums. So if you have a family who has already contributed to a 529 education account, then there is a diagnosis, which happens before age 26, that might make a person not be able to attend college. You can roll that money from the education account into an ABLE account so that it can be used for disability related expenses. Congress is investigating allowing special deposits for significant sums of money, like for instance, life insurance payments, or when the Social Security Administration deems that somebody has been misdiagnosed or has back payments from the Social Security Administration that can total more than $16,000. There are a number of times where an individual, as a result of a lawsuit, receives a large sum of money. Congress is looking at making modifications to the contribution amount for those special situations that would allow an individual to contribute more than $16,000 per year. It hasn't happened yet, but I do want to make you aware that we understand there are some situations that might require someone to put in more than $16,000 a year. Like I said, it hasn't happened yet, but Congress understands that. So let's talk about overall aggregate contributions. Once your ABLE balance exceeds $100,000, SSI counts anything on top of $100,000 as a resource, which means it may impact the payments that you receive from SSA once your balance exceeds $100,000. Now, again, at $16,000 a year, it's going to take you a number of years before you get to that $100,000 balance. And I do have a number of clients who say, I don't want to jeopardize that payment from the SSA. And it's really easy to avoid that jeopardizing it, is to use the money. That's what it's there for. Once you get close to that $100,000, you start using the money, and then you don't have to worry about either a diminish or a decrease in your SSA payments. Contributions to ABLE accounts are allowed until the balance exceeds $500,000. So each state sets its own limit for how much you can contribute to an ABLE or a 529 account, and Michigan has set its limit to $500,000, which means theoretically you could shelter up to $500,000 in an MI-ABLE account without having to stop contributions. Once you reach that $500,000 limit, they will not accept any further contributions. Okay, I mentioned earlier that you needed to use this money for QDE, qualified disability expenses. I'm going to tell you exactly what the IRS has said is a qualified disability expense. First and foremost, the IRS said that QDE is meant to be as broad as possible and includes the expenses of everyday living. When Congress was debating this, and they were trying to mirror the 529 education program, but during the hearings, Congress asked, well, what do you want this to pay for? Just medical expenses? Oh no, there's a lot more things than just medical expenses. Okay, well, what kind of things are you talking about? We're like, everything. We literally want this to cover everything, because if you know one story of a person with a disability, you know one story of a person with a disability. And someone with the exact same condition, be it cerebral palsy or autism or blindness or any of the other countless myriad of conditions that could be disabling, you have that many different types of expenses that could be related to those conditions. So Congress is intentionally broad in their interpretation of what is a qualified disability expense. However, they did enumerate and list, these are the kinds of things that we are talking about. So just like you can use your 529 education account to pay for tuition, books, fees, computers, the cost of higher education, you can pay for those expenses out of your ABLE account as well. In addition, you can also pay for housing, be that a mortgage payment or rent, or the cost to furnish a home, the cost of utilities, cable, electric, heat, you name it. If it's a cost related to housing, it is a qualified disability expense for the ABLE program. You can use these accounts for your basic living expenses. So if you want to pay for groceries and toiletries and shampoo, you can pay for those things out of your ABLE account as well. One of the key components of the disabled population is their inability to afford and procure transportation. It's one of the reasons that the disabled population is either unemployed or underemployed, is their lack of transportation. Congress recognizing this is, yeah, this is a great way for people to save and pay for their transportation costs. Whether that's an Uber or a bus pass or the purchase of a wheelchair accessible vehicle or a flight or a ferry trip, all transportation expenses are allowable to be paid out of an ABLE account. I know this population is really, really keen on assistive technology. My sister-in-law is an occupational therapist, and she absolutely loves sharing this program with her clients who need assistive technology, because it's a great way to save for those expensive items without jeopardizing your eligibility for the benefits that you need. I was at a conference at Michigan State University, and the table next to me had a bunch of assistive technology devices. And they were literally the coolest, James Bond type spy things that I've ever seen. They had a pair of glasses that had a speaker. And when you touched the page, the glasses would read the page out loud so that you could hear it. And it was super cool. And I was like, these are the coolest glasses I've ever seen. How much are they? And they were $4,000. Well, it's impossible to save $4,000 if you're limited to $2,000 in assets, unless you were to hide the money in like your mattress or something like that. So now with an ABLE account, you have a place where you can save for those expensive treatments, expensive assistive technology devices, expensive transportation in an ABLE account without jeopardizing your eligibility for those public benefits. In addition to assistive technology, Congress allows you to pay for your health and wellness. So if you need the services of a physician or a nurse practitioner or the lab fees associated with having diagnostic testing or an x-ray or a piece of durable medical equipment like a wheelchair or a walker, any of those health, wellness, or quality of life expenses are all allowable out of an ABLE account. If you need to pay for the services of a professional like a certified public accountant or an attorney or any other type of professional who you have to pay for their services, you can pay for those services out of an ABLE account. We were talking earlier about special needs trusts. Special needs trusts are still a viable and a wonderful way to go to plan for future expenses. But you have to pay the attorney to establish those special needs trusts. Here's a place where you can save the money to pay for the attorney to establish the special needs trust without jeopardizing your eligibility. And as unpleasant as it is to discuss, we all have to plan for end of life. And no longer do you have to prepay for those services. You can pay for those services when the beneficiary passes away out of the proceeds of an ABLE account. So you can actually use the remains of the ABLE account to pay for the end of life expenses for a person with a disability. So you no longer have to prepay for those services if you use an ABLE account. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits of the ABLE account. Again, our intention here is to ensure that individuals who utilize public benefits like Medicaid, like the programs that Medicaid administers, home and community-based waiver, children's special health care services, or standard Medicaid, that you keep those benefits. Those benefits are what you need because of the disability. We do not want you to lose those benefits. So that's the main benefit of an ABLE account. You no longer have to worry about that $2,000 asset threshold. If you are close to coming up to that threshold, here's a place where you can put that money and you can save and invest for your future expenses. The other benefit is its individual ownership. It's a chance for an individual with a disability to have a say in their own ability to create economic self-sufficiency. They have the ability to make investment decisions depending on their particular level of risk. So we have a number of options available to you that allow you to take that ownership initiative. I haven't talked at all yet about the tax deductions that are allowable. So families who contribute to ABLE account can give themselves an income tax deduction. On the Michigan income tax return for an individual filer, you can deduct contributions up to $5,000 on your Michigan income tax return. And a joint couple can take deductions for their contributions to an ABLE account up to $10,000. So it's a wonderful way for families to help contribute to these accounts to ensure that their loved ones have money available to them for their disability-related expenses, and at the same time, give themselves a tax deduction on their Michigan income tax return. So it's a wonderful way for families to save and plan for the future. I can't tell you the number of families that I've talked to who have said, we have told our families for so long, please don't give this person money because they will lose their benefits. And that is not what we want to have. We want to be able to give people the same types of freedoms that individuals without disabilities have. Michigan also has a high aggregate limit. As I mentioned earlier, we allow you to make contributions to an ABLE account until you have $500,000 in the account. So it's a great way to shelter a high amount of assets without jeopardizing your eligibility for public benefits. I mentioned earlier, we have different investment options that are available. They are based on risk. So if you have an individual who wants very little risk, we have a conservative program that may be good for them. If you have someone who has a longer investment timeline, which means I'm going to start saving money today, but I won't need it for 20 or 30 years, then maybe for that person, the aggressive portfolio is good. And in addition to the very conservative and the very aggressive, we have various levels in the middle as well that allow you to take those investment risks up to your personal tolerance levels. And you don't have to choose just one of those investments. You could choose all six. It makes it really flexible for people who are new or novices in the investment industry. In addition to those 6 different investment options, we also offer an FDIC insured checking account that comes with an optional debit card, which makes it really easy to purchase qualified disability expenses at, for instance, the pharmacy. You just put it on your ABLE card. If you need to make a purchase at a grocery store or something like that, you can just put it on your ABLE card. So it makes it really easy for people to use the accounts. And another benefit of the ABLE accounts is they're flexible. As I mentioned earlier, they can work in conjunction with a special needs trust. It makes it really flexible and really easy for people to utilize. I do want to talk a little bit about the costs of an ABLE account. As I mentioned, the different investment options that we have available to us do have a level of costs associated to them, but all of our investment costs are under 0.5%. Every ABLE account does have an annual fee associated to it. As long as you sign up for electronic delivery of documents, meaning emails versus us sending you a paper statement every quarter, as long as you sign up for those, the annual fee is $45. And if you don't sign up for electronic delivery of documents, the annual fee is $60. So they're still not expensive like many other investment types are. Like I said, $45 a year plus less than 0.5% in your different investment options that are available to you. One of the things I forgot to mention, so I'm actually going to go backwards. On qualified disability expenses, I'm going to answer some questions that I always get on qualified disability expenses because it might solve some of the issues that we'll have during the question and answer session. Question I always get, can we go on vacation? The answer is a qualified yes, because transportation, getting to wherever you're going, is an allowable expense. So if you have to take a flight from, Detroit to Orlando to go to Disney World, you can pay for that flight for an individual with a disability out of your ABLE account. When you get to Disney World, you're going to have to stay at a hotel, and you can pay for the hotel for an individual with disability out of an ABLE account because that's housing. Housing is allowed. I would not pay for the ticket into Disney World with my ABLE account. I would use other money for that. Some other things that we would think that you would not want to use your ABLE account for, luxury items, things like jewelry, simply because you're going to have a hard time justifying to the IRS that a diamond ring or a diamond brooch is a disability related expense. I would not use my ABLE account to pay for things like alcohol and tobacco and things of that nature. I'm not saying don't buy those things. I'm not saying that a person with a disability shouldn't have those things or shouldn't buy those things. By all means, they're entitled to them just as well as anyone else. I'm just saying, don't use your ABLE account to pay for those things. Use other money to pay for those things if that's what you want to do. Because you may have a hard time justifying to the IRS that these are in fact a disability related expense. So hopefully that will at least bring down some of the questions I get. The number one question that I get is, what can I use this money for? And the answer that I give is, if it falls neatly onto one of these categories: education, housing, transportation, assistive technology, health and wellness, professional fees, or end of life expenses, you're going to be just fine. It's when you get into those areas of, well, that's, is that really related to the disability? That's the call for the IRS. And the IRS and the Social Security Administration are subject to audit these expenses. They haven't been audited yet, to my knowledge. At least no Michigan resident has been audited, to my knowledge. So it's really hard for me to say what they're looking for or what they want you to look out for. But my advice to my clients is to make sure that the disability expenses that you're spending this money on falls neatly onto this list: education, transportation, housing, technology, health and wellness. If it falls into one of those categories, you're going to be just fine. Okay. I talked a little bit about the different investment options that we have. We also have a Fifth Third checking option. And I do want to make clear, just because Fifth Third is our debit card issuer, you cannot go into a Fifth Third bank and open an ABLE account. They will not know what you're talking about. They just provide the debit card portion of this program. You can't open an account there. And they asked me a number of times to make sure that was clear. Please don't go to a Fifth Third and ask to open an ABLE account. They won't be able to help you. In addition to the checking account card, we do have the UGift platform, which makes it really easy for friends, family, teachers, and perfect strangers to gift accounts on the ABLE platform. Anyone can make a donation to a MyABLE account, and anyone who makes a contribution can be eligible for a tax deduction on their Michigan income tax return. So it's a great way for those families who have told their friends and families, please don't give her or him money because it jeopardizes their eligibility. Now you can give them a card or give them a piece of paper with a code on it that says, here, if you'd like to make a contribution, a tax deductible contribution to this ABLE account, please do so, and we thank you. So it's a great way to allow individuals to help crowdfund these accounts and give themselves an income tax deduction along the way. Okay, now I'm going to give you some more recent updates on the ABLE program. And when I booked this session, I had no idea that it was going to be like 2 days before we were converting from our current vendor to our new vendor. So there's still, we are still in the process of converting, but starting Monday, December 13th, which is like 4 days away, you will be able to enroll in our new National ABLE Alliance program at mi.savewithable.com. The site is not up yet. I just checked this morning. You can't get in yet. But the plan is to have it open Monday morning so that people can start establishing new accounts, funding their already opened accounts, and making withdrawals and deposits, and doing everything that you can do on an ABLE account, making modifications to your investments, those types of things. Our client service line does not change. So it's 844-656-7225. They are there Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Eastern Standard Time, to allow individuals assistance with their ABLE accounts, to ensure that people can make contributions and withdrawals, and to get paper checks if they need to order debit cards, to do all the functions of the ABLE program. That's what they're there to do. Fair warning, they will not give investment advice. They will not be able to tell you, you should put your money in this fund, or you should take your money out of that fund and put it into this fund. They will not give you investment advice. They're not stockbrokers. They're not investment counselors. They're not financial planners. They're there to help you walk through the ins and the outs of the ABLE program and to explain to you how to make contributions and things of that nature. They have also been trained to help individuals with disabilities, be that a cognitive disability or a speech and hearing issue. That's what they're there for. They are there to help this population navigate the system and help them understand how and when they can make contributions and things of that nature. Their email address is mi.clientservice@savewithable.com. In addition to both phone and email, there is a fax number, but I apologize, I don't have it handy on this slide yet. But it will be available on our website on Monday when the website goes up. Diane will attest that if you know of any groups like MI-UCP or other disability advocacy groups, parent groups, any organization that might benefit from listening to me talk for about 30 to 45 minutes about ABLE accounts or to help build awareness about the ABLE program, please email me at myable@michigan.gov. That goes directly to me. I'm one of 2 people that answer that email. And this email is also wonderful for policy issues. Because we've been around for a number of years now, we've been around since 2016. The policy issues have decreased dramatically. When we first went live, nobody knew what an ABLE account was. Nobody knew, what the rules were for ABLE accounts. So those issues have gradually decreased. But if you have a policy issue, if you have an issue where, a government entity is saying, well, because you have an ABLE account, you're ineligible, please email me. I'd be more than happy to cite the different legal precedents that say, no, you can't eliminate their benefits because of an ABLE account. From everything from Medicaid to HUD to, to Section 8 to the waiver programs, you name it. I've tried to deal with all of them. But if you have a policy issue and somebody is saying that because of an ABLE account, you are being precluded from any type of government program, please get in touch with me at myable@michigan.gov, and I'd be happy to assist in those matters. But again, I'm always looking for outreach events. I'm always looking for different organizations where I can speak and provide just the general information on ABLE accounts. As of this morning, we have opened just over 6,600 accounts in the state of Michigan, and we have $32.5 million on deposit. That's $32.5 million that has been sheltered from things like spend down, that has been sheltered from Medicaid clawback, that allows an individual to save for their future expenses and not jeopardize their eligibility for Medicaid. So at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions and allow people to ask. If you want to type them in your chat, I'd be happy to address them. I think there's actually one question in the chat, and it's Diane's email. So I'm going to open it back up to see if there are any Q&As. But while I'm doing that, I will leave up the email addresses and the website so that you have them. I'm going to open it up now. So Diane, I don't know if there are any questions or anyone.
There is one from Teresa Wilkinson. What happens to the money when the individual passes away?
Great question, Teresa. Thank you so much for asking that. That is one of the questions that I always get as well. There are a couple options. Okay. First and foremost, the federal rule states that the state Medicaid office may, and I quote, may make a claim to what is left in an ABLE account when the beneficiary passes away. However, Michigan Medicaid has never made a claim to the remainders of an ABLE account when the beneficiaries have passed away. I can't say they won't in the future. I can say they haven't yet. In those cases where Michigan Medicaid has not made a claim, the account is then becomes part of that person's estate. So if that person had a will or established a trust or it went through probate, then this account becomes just like any other financial asset and typically goes to the heirs of the person that passes away. So again, Michigan Medicaid may make a claim, but they have never made a claim in the 5 years, 6 years now that we've been in existence.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody else? Questions? Oh, got another one. Oh, from Teresa. Thank you. Great information.
Thank you, Teresa, for paying attention.
Any others?
Barb? You can talk, Barb, if you want to unmute.
Yeah, I make a point with you, Mr. DeVarona, to discuss the able account because I offered one a few years ago, and I didn't know how to get the money in there. Could I discuss it with you?
Sure.
With Scott, Barb?
Yeah, that'd be fine. However, Barb, right? Is it Barb? I
Yes.
think it was. Okay. However, Barb, I'm going to ask you to wait until Monday when the new website is live, because it's at that point that I can help walk you through the different screens and everything. So I'll tell you what, why don't you either email me at the address that's on the screen, myable@michigan.gov, and I'll be able to help walk you through it.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Scott, Becky Dowler wants to know, how difficult is it to open a MyAble account?
Okay, I'm going to answer that two different ways. As I've mentioned, we are going through a conversion right now, so you can't open an account today. All right. On Monday, when you go to mi.savewithable.com, there will be, we will need some general information. So we will need dates of birth, social security numbers, addresses, the demographic information. We need the same information that any bank or investment account is going to need to open. So once you have that information, you could probably do it in 10 or 15 minutes. It's simply a matter of putting the correct, social security number for the person, addresses for the person, dates of birth, because we have to go through the same identity theft checks that any bank or credit union would have to go through. In some instances, because a lot of people in our population don't have a credit history, we may ask for supporting documentation, like a picture of a utility bill or something along those lines, to ensure we're dealing with the correct party. But that in and of itself, it's really pretty simple. It should take 10 or 15 minutes to open an account on our new website.
Becky says, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Wonderful.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you, Scott. Tracy?
Yes, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate how much I learned today about such a wonderful program. Thank you so much. I've got all kinds of little notes here to follow up on.
Great.
So we really appreciate your taking the time to share that with us. So I also want to talk to you all about our first talk, AT Talk of 2022. Tyler Gross will present strategies for staying organized and efficient in a virtual world. Tyler's a departmental technician for Michigan Rehabilitation Services with the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. We'll learn strategies to be more organized, increase our awareness of tools, and gain answers to the most common questions. This talk will be useful for individuals with memory loss, forgetfulness, anxiety disorders, ADHD, and those who would benefit from refining executive function while using computers, but will also be useful to a general audience. I don't know about you, but I can always use more organizational strategies and tools. I'm looking forward to and asking you to please join us on Thursday, January 13th at 10 a.m. for his talk on strategies for staying organized and efficient in a virtual world. And we wish you all who celebrate a happy holiday season here from MI-UCP. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.